Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. My name is Akif Nawaz, and in today's class we're going to talk about Anglo-Saxon period, its famous genre and the major writers. So we'll be discussing some of the things that is relatable to Anglo-Saxon period. So let's start from the introduction. The Anglo-Saxon period spanning from around 670 to 1100. It means that it starts at 670 and it ends up at 1100. Marks the early phase of English literature. It's also known as Old English as well. It was a time characterized by the dominance of Old English, a language used before the Norman conquest of 1066. This period saw the creation of literature primarily in verse, with works reflecting the warrior culture, heroic ideals and Christian influences of the time. So simply we can say that Anglo-Saxon period starts from 670 and it ends at 1100. And we get to know about the dominance of Old English after reading this Anglo-Saxon literature. And along with that, we get to know that the major genre is that of a verse, and the themes are warrior culture, heroic ideals and Christian influences of the time. Now let's talk about the famous genre and major writers. Now the famous genre when it comes to Anglo-Saxon period is epic poetry, in which there are some of the prominent writers and works we need to know. So the first one is that of Beowulf. Beowulf is a famous work, but the writer is anonymous, means it's not known. It's the most significant epic poem of the period, celebrating the hero Beowulf and his battles against monsters. Now let's talk about the Beowulf, that what the story was all about, etc. and etc. Now Beowulf is an epic poem in Scandinavia and is one of the most significant works of Old English literature. Now this is one of the most significant, but the writer is anonymous, and it tells the story of the hero Beowulf, that is the protagonist, and who comes to help Hrothgar, who is the king of the Danes, and the king's hall is undertaken by a monster creature named Grendel. So हम कह सकते हैं here that the Grendel is a kind of monster and Beowulf is fighting against him in order to help Hrothgar, etc. and etc. Okay, now there are other famous authors as well. The Anglo-Saxon period is known for its epic poetry and religious works. While many of the authors are anonymous, some notable figures are: the first one is Caedmon. Caedmon is famous for his hymn, one of the earliest known English poets, known for his religious hymns. Now what are religious hymns? We'll talk about this in any other video. The next one is Bede. Bede is famous for ecclesiastical history of the English people. Though primarily a historian, his works is essential for understanding the period's literature and culture. If you remember in the beginning, we did discuss that the major themes revolve around religion, culture and battles. So the next one is that of Cynewulf. Cynewulf is famous for Juliana, Eileen, the Fates of the Apostles, a poet known for his religious and narrative poetry, and these are his prominent works that are written in front of you. The next one is Alfred the Great. Alfred the Great is the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles. He's famous for this. He was not a poet. His translations and effects to standardize Old English literature are significant. So his services are more related to the enhancement or improvement of English literature and specifically language. Now these writers contributed to the rich tapestry of early English literature, blending heroic and religious themes with a distinct Old English style. Now I hope you would have got something about these writers. Now the next thing is that 5 interesting things about Anglo-Saxon works writers. Now let's talk about them one by one. The first one is oral tradition. Now, oral tradition means that people used to narrate things rather than writing them down. Anglo-Saxon poetry was recited by scopes in oral tradition using rhythmic and alliterative techniques to aid memory. Now, orally it was spoken in front of the audience, and rhythm and alliterative techniques, and these are the most prominent techniques when it comes to narration. And the next one is that of kenning usage. Poet often used kennings like whale road for the sea to create vivid and metaphorical description, and we all know that what kennings are. So kennings are basically a kind of description in which we describe but having that metaphorical description too. For example, for sea we are using words whale road, and there's also that metaphorical or comparison element as well. And for example, for sun, if we say that sky candle, or for example for dog, so we can say that post main chaser. So these are the kind of expressions that we call as kenning. The next one is Cadman's inspiration. Now Cadman again is one of the famous writers when it comes to Anglo-Saxon period. The earliest known English poet reportedly received his gift of poetry through his divine vision. Means he was highly inspirational, and along with that he had this divine vision, and poets are all about this divine vision. The next one is Bede's contribution. Bede, a scholar and a poet, blended historical narrative with spiritual reflection in his influential ecclesiastical history. So it means that Bede is all about historical narrations and spiritual reflections. The next one is Cynewulf's signatures. Then so Cynewulf uniquely signed his poetry with runic inscriptions, marking his works with his personal identity. Now runic alphabets, these were the kind of alphabets that are native to Germans, and these were written in order to make yourself written in history. So Cynewulf was a kind of writer who used to write runic inscriptions on his works so as to get himself right down in history. So I hope you would have got things related to Anglo-Saxon period and major writers, their famous works, etc. and etc. And now if you have anything to ask, do write that down in the comment section. And along with that, and if you like this video or if you have learned something from this video, so don't forget to subscribe me. Thank you so much. Take great care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.